Hello. So today I want to chat about moving on because so many of us think we're moving on. We think that we've had enough of something or we're ready to move past something. We're ready to start something new. So we're going to move on. We're going to close the door and we're just going to walk away and we're going to move on. But moving on and closing doors without resolving the, the stuff that we're closing the door from and moving on from ends in us being unhealthy and unhappy. And quite often it makes us sick. And I'm realizing this more and more and more as I work with people and as I work on myself, is that I thought I'd moved on. People think they've moved on. People move on and think they're, well, not just think, they start something new. They work on something new. They meet someone new. They just start over. But what are you leaving behind? What have you closed the door on? And it's really amazing when you have a conversation with someone, or in this case, like when I have a life hacking session with someone, but even in the conversation, it's so clear that, people haven't moved on. They actually haven't. How do I know that? Well, there's feelings that are still hurt or raw. There's emotions welling up as they talk about something or they, explain a past situation. Or they've just completely lived in denial and like ignoring the situation altogether. And, it's just paying attention to the clues of this never got dealt with. This never got resolved. This is still making me feel like crap. I still get emotional when I think about it or when something triggers, a past experience or a past person or a memory comes up. So moving on doesn't actually work the way we think it should. Closing a door doesn't work the way we think it should. And every crappy experience is meant for us to learn from. And it's my opinion that it's meant to be resolved. It's not just meant to be left dangling and hanging open and raw and hurt and angry and slamming doors, and then you move on. That it comes back to bite us in the butt. It haunts us. It comes back to affect us either in another relationship or physically with our physical health, or just, with our ability to be happy and fulfilled and content in our life. So I just want to throw it out there for you to ponder that, how many things have you moved on from or closed the door of that you haven't actually resolved or that still feel undone? I had an experience happen to me in the past where like I had massive emotional stuff going on because of this experience, but I had no way of resolving it with the other person. And it just wouldn't go away until I found a way to resolve it within myself. And so many of us never get the chance to have a face-to-face conversation with someone, or say what needs to be said, or work things out with that other person, or with, I don't know, usually it's with other people that we're moving on from, or with an experience that we're closing the door of. And you know, so many of us live our whole life not getting a resolution and not getting closure. And trust me on this, or trust yourself to feel if what I'm saying right now is true for you. But in some form or another, it's going to come back to bite us in the ass if we don't resolve it. Or if it doesn't bite us in the ass, it will come back and affect our kids, our family, our spouse, our future generations, because we're all moving on, but the effects of us moving on and the effects of what never was resolved remain. And I'm not just talking physical. It's not just the physical that is affected here. It's not just physical DNA that gets passed on. There's more to it than that. And so I'm just throwing it out there for you today, because this has been on my mind for a couple days with moving on. Some people are so good at moving on, but then they get sick. And if moving on was the answer, you would freely move on and there would be no repercussions. There would be no harm in the future. There would be nothing affecting you in the future as a result of what you had moved on from. But moving on is not the only answer. It's not the only piece of the puzzle of making changes in your life, or starting, shifting from where you were into where you want to be. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. And it's not about only focusing on the positive, and it's not about only focusing on the negative. But in order to make progress, we just have to eliminate what's between where we're at and where we want to be. And often, that's where the shit is. It's not awesomeness that's between where we are and where we want to be. It's shit. It's junk. It's old stuff. But moving on is not the only piece that needs to happen to freely move on without the lessons still left hanging. All right, so please just ponder that a little bit, and definitely there's options out there for, to help you work on what you've left behind. So I hope you have a really great day.